And now, News 4's Weather Extra with meteorologist Ryan Duggar.
Welcome into Weather Extra. Anyone that was tuning in last night heard David say, "I'm not going anywhere." Well, he's not here right now, and so I got to give him the buzzer for that one. We're running out of battery in the buzzer too. That's great. But he is actually out on assignment for the weekend, so that's why I'm holding Weather Extra, the fort down for Friday night. But really the main thing I wanted to talk about is the heat that has just been really intense this past week. So the dry air coming in, that's going to provide much cooler afternoons, especially into tomorrow. But what's the coolest lows that we've seen into June? I asked meteorologist Zach Webster to find out.
Normally, as we close out the month of May and head into June, we start to see a lot warmer temperatures settle into the region, but every now and again, it's not totally uncommon to get a little bit of a cool snap into the area as well. Let's take a look at record lows and then record low highs, the coolest high temperatures we've seen for Saturday, Sunday, and into early next week as well. The record low Saturday night, 49 degrees. That was last set back in 1984. Then those record lows are in the 50s and even into the lower 60s by Tuesday. Then those record low highs, again, that's the coldest high temperatures we've seen for each of these days on record. Those are mostly in the lower to middle 70s. So again, it's a lot more common for those temperatures to turn warmer as we close out May and head into June. But every now and again, you can get a little bit of a cooler snap into the region. It looks like we're getting some form of some of those slightly cooler temperatures into the region, especially as we head into the weekend.
Yeah, just like Zach said, a sort of form of that cooler snap coming in, but it could be a lot more intense. That record low for Saturday morning at 49 degrees. Imagine going outside and kind of feeling that chill. I honestly couldn't imagine it, especially that late into May. But we're going to be seeing, again, cooler temperatures, but nothing really close to the amounts that Zach showed there. We'll likely see overnight into tomorrow, temperatures starting around the lower to middle 60s, very comfortable as you're heading out the door, and especially under sunny skies. We'll see lots of sunshine into tomorrow, but temperatures will be limited to the middle 80s for the end of May. And so that is a considerably cooler or unseasonably cool end to May, when typically around this time temperatures are right around 90 degrees or usually in the lower 90s, again helped out by that drier air that's made its way in. And then into Sunday morning, temperatures again starting around the lower to middle 60s, but picking up a little bit underneath more of that sunshine or partly sunny skies as well. Temperatures getting up to around the upper 80s, and so we're going to see that heat build little by little throughout the weekend as well. And then by Monday, likely going to be seeing temperatures around the upper 80s crossing into the lower 90s. That heat building back for parts of Mississippi into Louisiana as well. So our neighbors west will be sharing that heat as well. And then we'll continue to see that temperatures stay around the lower 90s for much of the week, as well as some moisture coming back into our area. Likely by, I believe, Thursday morning, we'll see that those lows get back to the lower 70s, limited by those dew points that we'll see. And then into the next several days, over the next 9 days, we'll still see that much of the southeast stays in those 90s as well. And so that push of drier air that we're seeing, we're not going to be seeing likely for the next 10 days. And with that moisture sticking around as well, that could fuel the chances for isolated showers and thunderstorms day to day, especially as we get into next weekend and into the following week as well. And hey, we definitely need the rain, as I'm sure you and have heard me and David talk about for several months. So how much rain do we see typically throughout meteorological summer? We'll be talking about that after the break.
And now, News 4's Weather Extra.
Welcome back to Weather Extra. You know, we saw a broken line of showers and thunderstorms making its way through Alabama earlier today, but by the time it made its way through our area, it was very broken. Only provided some rainfall, especially for our northern areas and for areas of the Florida Panhandle. But now, a lot of those rain chances continue to push south as this line makes its way out to the Atlantic and out into the Gulf as well. We'll be left behind with that cloudiness just for the next few hours, but coming in behind that, that dry air that we're seeing here, or those clear skies that we're seeing, is a signal of that much drier air making its way into the southeast. We can see that pushing into Montgomery now and will continue making its way into the Wiregrass. But what's interesting is about these pushes of dry air, around the time we get into summer, we're not usually looking at dew points to see what our rain chances are for the next several days. This actually goes down to the precipitable water, the amount of water that is in the atmosphere. So that's more of a tool that we use into the summertime months, where typically dew points stick around the 60s to lower 70s. Precipitable water helps us with those rain chances, especially where you can see showers and thunderstorms day to day. And so with this drier air, we're taking a look at the futurecast for that moisture or the precipitable water in the air. That drier air sitting over the southeast for the next few days, especially by Tuesday morning, we can see that dry air kind of making its way farther into the mid-Atlantic, but still encompassing much of Alabama and the Wiregrass. But take a look to the west, where you see that green color right there. That's that moisture that builds in from the west and then starts to kind of sag back down into the southeast. So that's a pattern we typically see into the summer, where that moisture, due to southerly winds into parts of Texas, fuels that moisture back in, and then it can sag into the southeast. Likely by Friday, this is where we'll start to see that those low-end rain chances return to our area, and we'll likely see into next week isolated showers and thunderstorms day to day, especially as this moisture sticks around much of the southeast. And that's some good news, especially as we look at the climate models for precipitation for meteorological summer. Wiregrass included in a 40 to 50% chance of above average rainfall into this season, which, hey, we need all the rain we can get, especially after looking at the rainfall that we saw for last summer. These are the normal amounts for June, July, and August, where June is just over 5 inches, July is just under 6 inches, and August is just over 6 inches right there. But if you take a look at last summer, we were really far behind on meeting those normals. The total for June last year, under 4 inches, July just over 4 inches, and then August, this was a really big hitter right here, only just under, or just about under an inch of rain right there, where we typically see 6 inches of rain. So that really fueled the deficit that we've been dealing with for a while. If Hurricane Helene didn't provide that rain, we would definitely be in worse shape into this summer as well. But hopefully we can get more of that rain, and of course we'll be tracking a lot more of the tropics into the summer. Hurricane season starts June 1st, so be sure to remember that as well. But that's it for Weather Extra this week. We'll be sure to have more next week. I hope everyone has a great weekend.